and welcome to Tome of Uselessness. Dan here, just doing a little solo recording. This was a topic that I approached Devin about doing a normal episode about because I thought it'd be interesting because she's not a big fan of Ghost in the Shell, and of course, I'm sure I've mentioned several times that I am a big fan of Ghost in the Shell. And so this new Netflix series that came out wasn't very interested in because it just didn't look like kind of, up to the quality, let's say. But I thought it'd be interesting because Devin, like I said, she has no real prior experience with the franchise. I do, so it would have been some interesting kind of take there. But it didn't really work out that way, so I have watched it, the first season, and I'm going to talk about it, some of my thoughts about it, just by myself here. So like I said, it is on Netflix, and it's 12 episodes long. And I didn't know going in that there was a planned season 2. I thought it was kind of a thing where they would do like a season, see how well it does, and then maybe then do a season 2 or something along those lines. But I did some research afterwards. It was a planned 2 season because the way the story structure was, I was like, man, this is really dragging some stuff out here if this is only going to be a 1 season thing. Like, I was like, it's just going nowhere. But yeah, so there's currently just 1 season out on Netflix. I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm sure this is not a hot take. I didn't like the animation style. And, computer animation can look good, and Netflix has done some stuff where there's like that blend, like the Godzilla is kind of like a CG cel-shaded style thing, but I just wasn't a fan of... It's basically like the background stuff all looks great, and everything that's like a robot looks great, like all the Tachikomas and the spider tanks, and like they fight a drone in like the first episode, and it looks really good, and all that stuff looks great, but the characters all look like they're from an early generation video game cutscene, which really detracts from the show. I assume it was budgetary, but also it's like, then don't do it in that way. I don't know. And it's just because then it makes it difficult to even like the character designs, because I don't like any of the character designs. Like, they all look the same essentially from the standalone complex, sort of, except for the Major. She gets, redesigned every time. But like Togusa and Bato and Saito and all of them look pretty much the same. But it detracts from their design, and even just a little more definition on them. Like, they all look really too smooth and everything, so it really made it difficult to kind of get into the show, and I was, trying to get past that factor, because I think overall the story does get interesting and becomes not very Ghost in the Shell, but there's some very Ghost in the Shell-like elements in there. But like I said, that animation style, just for me, didn't work out for the characters. Like I said, the tanks and everything else, like all the background stuff looked really good. And there's like a couple scenes where Togusa's driving a car. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just like a CG car, and it looks like a good CG car. And, it was just, like I said, it was just not for me. Which is odd that... Like, I assume it's budget and time, but I know anime has done a lot in computers as well, or does like a mix blend. Like, Devin and I did that Pokemon Power of Us commentary, and watching that movie, again, different companies, but like, it was a kind of a clear example to me of just like, this is how you do it. You have your CG elements and your backgrounds or whatever, and then your characters are a sort of a hand-drawn type style, but of course, they're all run through a computer and everything, and it just looks great, right? But anyway, I'm not going to bag on that too much more. Yeah, and so before going in, like I said, I didn't really do a lot of research about the show because I wanted to try to go in a little more open-minded about it. And so it does seem to try to be almost a continuation of, I believe the standalone complex is kind of where they're going with that, because it's like Section 9 was a thing and got dissolved. We don't know why. And now a big group of them are just all mercenaries, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool because like the Major and Bato have a military background. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. It'd be neat to see them kind of just being mercs out doing some stuff. But that's not kind of what I was expecting. But I was like, okay, this is kind of cool stuff. And I really liked how they brought in Togusa. I believe it's in the third episode, sorry. And I liked how they brought him in, and he was kind of doing a cop thing, right? Because in the movie, and they talk about how he is a detective. He's not very doesn't have a lot of cybernetic implants and stuff like that, and it's just like he has a different way and different view of stuff, and that's what makes the Ghost team or Section 9 work so well together. Is they all have different kind of specializations and specialities. So yeah, I like seeing Togusa doing some stuff, and he's doing some cop things and investigating and basically trying to track down the group. And at the same time, it was kind of odd how they just kind of get kidnapped by a guy who's supposedly from the American government, and they're just like, okay. And when we finally get kind of the reveal of what's the story about these post-humans, and I was like, okay, again, I'm interested. But when they finally do encounter one, and he's basically like drawn and fighting like a rubbery, goobly thing, I was just like, I didn't like that at all. But his mech was cool. Again, the robots all looked really neat and everything. But I liked the idea here that it's like, okay, there's these people and they've almost become, post-human. They're almost an AI unto themselves, and they're doing weird stuff. And what is their actual plan? And they show like this army guy, and he just infiltrates a base and sets off some nukes and stuff like that. And so again, really cool stuff. And I like that episode a lot, where they go and meet and find out that backstory of that army guy, and he's just like, they kept him in this secure room, bubbled off from the world, but he still was able to kind of like trick them into writing a code or a program into their computers, which then activates all these robots, and big fight scene ensues and stuff like that. So again, there was some cool elements and cool stuff that I was enjoying, but just the goobly animation was throwing it off for me. But yeah, I don't want to get into too many like super specifics about some stuff, but kind of a fun story with Bato. He just goes into a bank because he's like, I'm just going to deposit my mercenary earnings here, and then there's a bank robbery, conveniently because he's there. But then there's like a twist, and then he kind of helps these people frame this other guy who's been kind of, stealing money and stuff like that. So it was just kind of fun. And that's what I was saying, where I was like, this kind of story, I was like, this is in episode 7 of 12. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense, like, for pacing. But like I said, it makes sense if there's a planned second season. Like, then they go through like 2 episodes about like, are we going to be a team? Is Section 9 even going to be a thing? They meet the Prime Minister, and some of the team are like, well, maybe we'll come back, maybe we won't. Again, it was all just kind of like wishy-washy. So I think it'll be interesting to see when season 2 is out, kind of, if you watch them back to back, if it'll like flow a lot better. And then yeah, when the political poll program kind of gets introduced, again, this is a little more, Ghost in the Shell-y, where it's like people voting about whether a person should live or not, and kind of leaving it up to the masses. And then they have to investigate, and you see some of its uses and stuff like that. It was, again, I was like, wow, there's some cool stuff here. They're investigating like the kid who wrote it originally, but it's like, so he is post-human, but it's like how/when did he become post-human? Because from the reveals we get in the next episode, it was like he was just a kid. When they are investigating him, I thought that was kind of a neat way of giving us like exposition and backstory, where it's like Togusa found a program, and it's like showing his memories to him, and it's a cool device. But I kind of didn't like at the end where he just disappears right in front of Bato, but even though the Tachikomas can see him, and I was just like, how is he getting hacked by something he's not involved with? It doesn't make any sense. And then it kind of just ends. So I think overall, I'm mixed about it, in a sense that it's like, I didn't hate it. I clearly didn't like the animation style, but I liked some of the action, I liked some of the story ideas, some of the animated elements, and some of the character stuff. But I think it's clearly not as good as some of the previous Ghost in the Shell entries, and that's what's disappointing about it, is that, there's this long history of this franchise and, these characters and stuff like that, and you would think at this point you could do something that would surpass those previous entries. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be that. So I don't think I have much more to say, really. I am interested enough that I'm going to watch the season 2, but it's not like I'm high on my radar of like the instant it drops, I got to be watching it. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say. I think I'll just end up repeating myself if I continue to speak. But thanks for listening. If you want to check us out, you can find us on social media at Tome of Uselessness. We have our website, tomeofuselessness.com. We're on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else you can get your podcasts from. You can always contact us at our email at tomeofuselessness@gmail.com, sorry. And, questions, comments, and topic ideas. Devin and I always like that a lot. And you can, like I said, check us out for other episodes where it's Devin and I or just some more solo stuff. So, thanks for listening. Have a great day.